Let me ask you something honest. How long have you been learning English? 1 year? 2 years? Maybe more? And do you feel fluent yet? If your answer is no, I want you to keep watching, because today, this video is going to tell you something important. Something most English teachers never tell you. Something most learners never discover. The reason your English is not improving is probably not what you think. It is not your grammar, it is not your vocabulary, it is not your memory, it is not your age. The real reason is something much simpler. And once you understand it, everything changes. So stay with me until the very end, because this video may be the most important English lesson you have ever watched. Lesson 1. Why English still feels difficult. Imagine this. You have studied English for a long time. You have watched videos. You have read grammar books. You have practiced vocabulary. You have worked hard. But when you try to speak, the words do not come. When someone asks you a question in English, your mind goes blank. You feel nervous. You feel stuck. You feel like you are not making enough progress. If this sounds familiar, I want you to hear something clearly. You are not alone. This is one of the most common experiences in the world. Millions of people feel exactly the same way. And the reason is not lack of intelligence. The reason is not lack of effort. The reason is something else entirely. Most English learners are struggling because of one thing: unrealistic expectations. Think about it. We live in a world of quick results. Fast food, fast internet, fast delivery. And many people want fast fluency too. They watch a video with a title like "Speak English in 30 Days." They see someone online speaking beautifully and think, "I want that, this month." So they begin learning with very high expectations. Then, after a few weeks, reality arrives. They discover that learning a language takes real time. They discover that mistakes happen every day. They discover that progress feels slow. And because their expectations were too high, they feel frustrated. Let us stop here for one moment. The word is frustrated. Frustrated means feeling upset and tired because something is not working the way you want. For example, he felt frustrated because he had studied hard but still could not speak confidently. Frustration is very common in language learning, but frustration is not a sign that you are failing. Frustration is usually a sign that your expectations and your reality are not matching yet. Here is a simple image to help you understand. Think about planting a seed in the ground. You plant the seed, you water it, you take care of it every day. But after 1 week, you see almost nothing. Would you dig the seed up and throw it away? Of course not. You know that growth takes time underground. Roots grow first, then the plant appears. Language learning works exactly the same way. Most of the real progress happens invisibly, inside your brain, building connections, building patterns, building understanding, and one day it appears. Suddenly you understand more. Suddenly speaking feels easier. Suddenly words come faster. That day will come, but only if you do not dig up the seed too early. There's another reason English feels difficult. Many learners compare themselves to the wrong people. They watch a fluent speaker on YouTube. They see someone switching smoothly between English and their native language and think, "Why am I not like that?" But what they are not seeing is the years of practice behind that fluency. They're seeing chapter 20 of someone's story and comparing it to their own chapter 2.
That comparison is not fair.
And that comparison is slowly stealing your motivation. The word is motivation. Motivation means the desire and energy to do something. For example, when she stopped comparing herself to others, her motivation came back. Remember this: every single fluent English speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once forgot simple words. Every person you admire once felt exactly the way you feel now. The difference between them and someone who stayed stuck is that they kept going. Here is the last truth about why English feels difficult. Many learners treat English like information to collect. They collect grammar rules, they collect vocabulary lists, they collect learning tips, but they forget one important thing. English is not information. English is a skill. And skills are not built by collecting. Skills are built by doing. You cannot learn to swim by reading about water. You cannot learn to cook by watching cooking videos alone. You must get into the water. You must stand in the kitchen. You must practice every single day. This is where most learners lose their progress. They spend too much time studying English and too little time using English. The good news? Once you understand this, everything shifts. Because using English, even badly, even with mistakes, builds real skill. And real skill builds real fluency. So the next time English feels hard, remember 3 things. Difficulty is not failure. Difficulty is growth. Your expectations may need to be adjusted. Your timeline may need to be extended. And your comparison needs to stop. Because the only person you should compare yourself to is the version of yourself from 6 months ago. Are you better than that person? Even a little? Then you are succeeding. Keep going. Lesson 2. The method trap. Why jumping around keeps you stuck. Let me describe something you may recognize. One week you are learning English through grammar exercises. The next week you try a new speaking app. A few days later you see a video about a different technique, so you switch again. Months pass.
Sometimes even years pass, but your English barely moves. This is called the method trap, and it is one of the most common reasons learners stop progressing. Here is the truth that most people do not want to hear. The method is not your problem. Consistency is. Almost any method will work if you stay with it long enough. The problem is that most learners quit before the method has time to work. The word is consistency. Consistency means doing something regularly, again and again, over a long period of time. For example, her English improved because of consistency, not because of any special method. Think about this example. Imagine someone who wants to get physically fit. On Monday, they follow one exercise plan. On Wednesday, they switch to a different one. On Friday, they try something completely new. After 3 months, they have barely changed. Not because the plans were bad, but because they never gave any plan enough time. English learning works exactly the same way. We live in a world that loves shortcuts. People want results without waiting. But here is the honest truth. There are no shortcuts to fluency. There are no shortcuts to real experience. There are no shortcuts to building a skill in your brain. Every fluent speaker you have ever heard has spent hundreds and hundreds of hours with the language, listening, reading, speaking, thinking, day after day, week after week, month after month. The process is not always exciting. Sometimes it feels slow. Sometimes it feels repetitive. But repetition is exactly what builds fluency. Think about how a child learns their first language. They hear the same words hundreds of times, the same phrases, the same sentences, again and again. This repetition is not boring to a child. It is how their brain learns. Adults are exactly the same. Your brain needs repetition. Your brain needs exposure. Your brain needs time with the language. But many adult learners get impatient with repetition. They want something new, something exciting, something different, when actually what they need most is more of what they already have.
More listening, more reading, more speaking. Just more. Imagine two learners. The first learner spends 6 months searching for the perfect method. They research techniques, they watch videos about how to learn English, they read articles, they compare apps. The second learner chooses one simple approach on day 1. Listen every day, read every day, speak every day. They do this for the same 6 months. Who is more fluent after 6 months? The second learner. Not because they found a better method, but because they spent more time actually using English. The word is approach. Approach means the way you choose to do something. For example, his approach to learning was simple but very effective. The best approach is not the most popular one. It is not the newest one. It is not the most complicated one. The best approach is the one you will actually follow every day. So stop asking, what is the best method for learning English? Start asking, what is the method I can stay with for months and years? Because consistency is more powerful than any technique. Daily action is more powerful than any app. Small habits repeated every day are more powerful than big bursts of effort once a month. Remember this. Action beats planning. Practice beats reading about practice. Consistency beats perfection. Choose your approach, trust it, follow it daily, and let time do its work. Dear learner, before we continue, I want to ask you one small question. Are you part of the English Zone family yet? If not, now is the perfect moment. Press subscribe, press the bell, and every week you will receive lessons, stories, and honest advice like this one. This channel is built for learners exactly like you. People who are working hard, people who want real progress, people who refuse to give up. Subscribe now and let us continue. Lesson 3. English is a skill, not a subject. Here is a truth that will change the way you learn. English is not a school subject. English is a skill. These two things are very different, and confusing them is one of the biggest mistakes a learner can make.
Many people learned English in school. They memorized rules, they completed exercises, they took exams, they got scores, and after years of this, many still cannot hold a simple conversation in English. Why? Because in school, they learned English as a subject to pass, not as a skill to use. The word is fluent. Fluent means able to speak or write a language easily, smoothly, and naturally. For example, after years of consistent practice, she became a fluent English speaker. Think about learning to drive a car. Could you become a good driver by reading a driving manual for 3 years? No. You might memorize every single rule. You might understand every road sign. But if you never sit behind the wheel, you cannot drive. Because driving is a skill, and skills must be practiced, not studied. Practiced. English works exactly the same way. You might know what the present perfect tense is. You might understand passive voice perfectly. You might memorize 500 vocabulary words. But if you rarely use English in real situations, your progress will stay limited. The knowledge is there, but the skill is not built yet. Knowledge and skill are two different things. Knowledge is knowing something. Skill is being able to do something. You may know how swimming works, you may understand the movements, but until you get in the water, you cannot swim. Many learners wait until they feel ready before they start using English. They say, "I will speak when my grammar is better. I will write when I know more vocabulary. I will start when I feel confident." But here's the problem with that thinking. Confidence almost never comes before practice. Confidence almost always comes after practice. The more you use English, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, the easier using English becomes. So the waiting creates the problem it was trying to avoid. Think about a football player. The player does not become great by reading about football. The player becomes great by training.
Running, passing, shooting, making mistakes, playing match after match after match. Every match teaches something new. Every mistake reveals something to improve. Every session builds skill. English works exactly the same way. Every conversation is your training session. Every sentence you speak is your practice. Every paragraph you read is your workout. Here's what using English every day can look like. Talk about what you see around you. Describe your morning in English. Think about your plans for the day in English. Write a few sentences about how you were feeling. Listen to English while cooking. Read one page of an English article before sleeping. These things may seem small, but they are not small. They are the building blocks of real fluency. The word is gradually. Gradually means slowly, step by step, over time. For example, his speaking improved gradually as he started using English every single day. Fluency builds gradually, not overnight, not in 1 week, but with every single practice session, your skill grows. Your brain becomes faster. Your vocabulary becomes more available. Your confidence becomes more natural. Remember this lesson. English is not a subject to memorize. English is a skill to practice. Treat it like a skill. Use it. Live with it. Make mistakes with it. Grow with it. Because the people who become fluent are not always the ones who know the most about English. They are the ones who use English the most. And every time you choose to use English, you are becoming stronger. Lesson 4. The input principle. Feed your brain first. There is one approach that many successful language learners use, but most beginners skip it completely. It is called input before output. And understanding this one idea can seriously speed up your progress. Here's what input means. Input is everything you receive in English. Listening to English, that is input. Reading English, that is input. Watching English content, that is input. And output is everything you produce. Speaking, writing, responding. Many learners jump straight to output.
They want to speak immediately. They want to have conversations immediately. They want to sound fluent immediately. But they skip one very important step, feeding their brain enough English first. The word is absorb. Absorb means to take something in and make it part of yourself. For example, when you read and listen regularly, your brain absorbs English naturally. Think about how a child learns their first language. For months, even years, a child mainly receives language. They listen to their parents. They listen to family. They listen to the world around them. Their brain collects language quietly. And only after receiving enormous amounts of input do they begin to speak. And when they speak naturally, because their brain already has everything it needs inside. The same principle works for adult learners. Your brain needs material to work with. It needs vocabulary patterns. It needs sentence structures. It needs the rhythm and sound of real English. Input gives your brain all of this. Think of it this way. If you want to cook a meal, you need ingredients first. No ingredients, no meal.
no matter how skilled you are as a cook. Vocabulary, phrases, and sentence patterns are your cooking ingredients. Listening and reading give you those ingredients. Without enough input, speaking becomes very hard because your brain does not have enough material to pull from. This is why many learners say, "I know grammar, but I cannot speak." The grammar knowledge is there, but the natural feel for the language is not there yet, because they did not spend enough time listening and reading. They spent their time studying rules, but rules alone do not create fluency. Exposure creates fluency. The word is exposure. Exposure means regular contact with something over time. For example, daily exposure to English through listening and reading changed her fluency completely. Now, listening is one of the most powerful forms of input. When you listen to English regularly, something important happens. Your ears begin to recognize patterns. Your brain begins to understand rhythm. You begin to hear how words connect in natural speech. At first, this feels difficult. You may only catch a few words. That is completely normal.
Do not stop because of that. Every fluent speaker went through that exact same stage. The key is to keep listening, even when you do not understand everything, because every listening session is training your English brain. Every minute of exposure is building something inside you. Reading is equally powerful. When you read English regularly, you meet vocabulary in context, not on a list, not in a dictionary definition, but in a real sentence, in a real situation, and that makes the word stick. Imagine learning the word opportunity. You could memorize opportunity, a chance to do something. Or you could read, she worked hard for years, and finally a great opportunity arrived. Which version do you remember? The second one, because the word has meaning in context. This is why reading is such a powerful teacher. Now, input before output does not mean avoiding speaking forever. Some learners misunderstand this. They spend months only listening and reading, but never open their mouths. That is also a problem. Output, speaking and writing, is still important. The balance is this. Input fills the tank. Output uses what is in the tank. If the tank is full, speaking is easier. If the tank is empty, speaking is painful. So fill the tank first, then speak. And as you speak, keep filling the tank. Every day, both at once. Here is something beautiful that happens when you build strong input habits. One day, a phrase appears in your mind that you did not consciously memorize. A sentence forms faster than you expected. A word comes to you without translation. That moment happens because your brain has absorbed enough English. The language has become familiar, and familiar things feel natural, and natural things feel easy. This is what consistent input creates, not immediately, but over time, steadily, surely. Lesson 5. Stop waiting, start speaking. Now. This lesson may be uncomfortable, but it may be the most important thing you hear today. You must start speaking English before you feel ready. Read that again, before you feel ready.
Not after you have perfect grammar. Not after you have more vocabulary. Not after you feel more confident. Before. Most learners believe the opposite. They think, when my English is better, I will start speaking. But here is the honest truth. Your English will only get better by speaking. Speaking is not the reward at the end of learning. Speaking is part of the learning itself. The word is imperfect. Imperfect means not perfect, having some mistakes or weaknesses. For example, his English was imperfect, but people understood him clearly, and he kept improving. Think about riding a bicycle for the first time. Nobody learns to cycle without wobbling. Nobody balances perfectly on the first day.
You get on, you wobble, you fall maybe, you get back on, you wobble less, you keep going, and one day you cycle without thinking. Not because you prepared perfectly, but because you practiced imperfectly. English speaking works the same way. Many learners are afraid of one thing most: making mistakes in front of other people. They think, what if I say something wrong? What if they judge me? What if I cannot find the right word? These fears are real. These fears are completely normal. Every learner feels them. But here is what you must understand. Mistakes are not the enemy of learning. Mistakes are the fuel of learning. Every mistake shows you something real, something you need to fix, something to pay attention to, something your brain is ready to remember. Because mistakes that come from real speaking stay in your memory far longer than rules from a book. Think about a child learning their first language. Children say wrong things constantly. They mispronounce words, they mix up sentences, they invent their own phrases. And no one laughs at them. No one tells them to study more before speaking. Everyone simply keeps communicating with them. And because they keep speaking despite their mistakes, they improve faster than anyone. Adults forget this lesson.
Now, let us finish this lesson together. We have arrived at the final lesson, and in some ways, it is the most important one, because without this mindset, all the other lessons will be difficult to follow. The lesson is this: fluency is a long-term project, not a short one, not a quick one, a long one. And once you accept this fully, learning becomes much easier. Here is what usually happens to learners. They begin with excitement. They feel motivated. They study every day. They feel progress. Then, after a few weeks or months, something changes. The excitement fades. Mistakes are still happening. Fluency still feels far. Progress feels invisible. And many learners, at this point, become discouraged. Some quit. Some look for a new method. Some begin to doubt themselves. But the learners who eventually become fluent understand one truth deeply. This journey takes time, not weeks, not months, sometimes years. And that is not a problem. That is simply the nature of building a real skill. The word is persistent. Persistent means continuing despite difficulties, obstacles, or slow progress. For example, because she was persistent, she reached fluency even when others around her gave up. Think about building a strong house. You do not build a strong house in one day. You lay one brick today, one brick tomorrow, one brick the day after. Each brick by itself looks small, meaningless almost. But after months and years of laying bricks, you have something solid, something permanent, something that will last. Your English is that house. Every word you learn is a brick. Every conversation is a brick. Every listening session is a brick.
Every page you read is a brick. You are building your house, one day at a time. One of the most damaging habits in language learning is comparing your progress to others. You see someone online speaking English beautifully, and you feel behind. You feel like you are not doing enough. You feel like something is wrong with you. But what you do not see is their full journey. You see the result. You do not see the years of work. You do not see the thousands of hours of practice. You do not see the embarrassing mistakes they made before reaching that level. Here is a much better comparison to make. Compare yourself only to who you were 6 months ago. Ask yourself, do I understand more English now than 6 months ago? Ask yourself, do I know more words now than 6 months ago? Ask yourself, am I less afraid of speaking now than 6 months ago? If any of those answers is yes, you are moving forward.
You are winning, and that is all that matters. The word is progress. Progress means moving forward, getting better, improving over time. For example, every day he practiced, and slowly but surely, progress appeared. Here's another truth about fluency that many learners find surprising. Even very fluent speakers make mistakes. Even native speakers make mistakes. Even people who have spoken English for 50 years sometimes forget a word, sometimes use the wrong phrase, sometimes pause in the middle of a sentence. Perfection does not exist in any language, and chasing perfection in English is one of the fastest ways to make yourself miserable. The goal is not perfect English. The goal is English that works, English that connects you to people, English that opens doors for you. That kind of English does not require perfection. It requires consistency. There's one more thing I want you to understand. Motivation will not always be there. Some days you will wake up and feel excited to study. Some days you will not want to do anything. Both of these days are normal. Do not build your learning journey on motivation. Motivation is temporary. It comes, it goes. Build your learning journey on habits instead. The word is habit. A habit is something you do regularly and automatically without needing to think about it. For example, once reading in English became a daily habit, her vocabulary grew without effort.
Choosing to come back tomorrow after a difficult day. Those choices, made again and again, create the fluent speaker you want to become. And that person is closer than you think. Now, before you go, I have 2 requests. Just 2. First, write one honest sentence in the comments below. Tell me, how long have you been learning English, and what is your biggest challenge right now? I read every comment, every single one, and I want to hear from you. Second, if this video helped you even a little, please subscribe to English Zone. Press that subscribe button. Press the bell icon so you never miss a new lesson. This channel is your companion on this journey. Every week, new lessons, new stories, new motivation, built for learners exactly like you. Subscribe now, comment below, and keep going. Every fluent English speaker was once where you are right now, struggling, doubting, trying. The difference is they did not stop. So do not stop. Come back tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. We will be here every step of the way. See you in the next lesson. Goodbye, and keep learning.
What is your biggest English challenge? Comment below. Subscribe to English Zone. New lesson every week.